You're watching Truth versus Hype. The big story this week, of course, is the BJP's shock setback in the Hindi heartland. Just look at these maps of before December 11th and after, and they will tell you the whole story of this election and the huge shift in Indian politics in just the course of 24 hours. What we are going to do now in the next 30 minutes is to analyze both the anatomy of the BJP debacle and ask, can they recover from here? And if so, how? Let's just first take a look at the numbers to understand exactly what happened to the BJP. We looked at the numbers to see if there was anything they could take away from these results to give them some sort of solace. But frankly, just if the statistics are to be believed, then there's really not very much. One of the big projections, of course, that NDTV did is that on the basis of these results converted into Lok Sabha seats, it appears that the BJP will lose 44 Lok Sabha seats in 2019 out of the roughly 62 seats, Lok Sabha seats, that would have gone to the polls in these three Hindi heartland states. So that's a pretty big number. Now, also, if you look at the BJP's performance in terms of different categories, they appear to have lost out in almost all, whether it's urban seats, where they're traditionally strong, whether it's rural seats, whether it's SC seats, ST seats, everywhere the numbers have taken a hit. Now, one argument that's being made by the BJP is that they are ahead of the vote share in Madhya Pradesh. Even though they've lost Madhya Pradesh, they're ahead of the vote share when it comes to the Congress. But it's a very, very small advantage, just under 1%. In fact, overall, across these states, the BJP's vote share has dropped by 18 percentage points, 18 percentage points. So really the question is, how can the party try to recover from where it currently stands? And what we've done on the show today is that we've not actually called anybody from the Congress. We've only called people who are from the BJP or the BJP ecosystem. And of course, Aarti Jarat here as always to provide us with overview. So we have with us Shaina NC of the BJP joining us from Mumbai. We have IP Singh of the BJP joining us from Lucknow, because remember, UP is the big battleground. We have Sandeep Mahapatra, who is with us, of course, someone who's believed to be a supporter or a believer of the RSS. And of course, Aarti Jarat, as I mentioned. We're going to try and take it theme by theme and look at each of these aspects that has been a cause of concern for the BJP. Let's start, Shaina, with rural India and look at really what has happened there. You're down 54% rural seats in Rajasthan, 36% in Madhya Pradesh, 66% in Chhattisgarh. In a sense, this is the revenge of rural India. I know that you would claim that you've tried to do a lot for farmers and for rural India, but clearly there are still some problems. If you were to identify what you need to fix when it comes to this kind of backlash amongst rural Indians to the BJP, one thing that you think should be done as a priority, what would that be?
Firstly, let me please say that I am not in agreement with your entire analysis. The fact that we have ruled in many of these states for 15 years is in itself victory. Obviously, people are entitled to change their mind after 15 years and say, give somebody else a chance. But look at the voting, the actual number of votes polled in Madhya Pradesh. We're actually ahead of the Congress. There are seats that we have lost by 500 and 1,000 votes, which you seem not to want to highlight. You take a state like Rajasthan, where people literally said that we would be wiped out and we would almost be 50 plus. The fact is that we have also given a good fight there. And I do concede that in Chhattisgarh, it is an area of concern because we had a very popular Chief Minister in Raman Singh Ji. And not only was he popular, there were lots of popular measures taken to include tribals, Naxals, and Shaina, to percolate policies down to the poorest of poor. Shaina. But having said that, after 15 years, part of a democracy is to change.
No, Shaina, I understand. I'm looking. Yeah, I'm just asking you. Please? What is the one thing that you think that the government should do or the BJP should do to try to, in a way, address this rural anger, this backlash? Or you're saying there's nothing that needs to be done?
Look, you may term it as rural anger. I may term it as, yes, No, there is a lot that needs to be done.
Okay,
But to keep
give me
talking
one
about
example.
an agrarian crisis, look at Madhya Pradesh from a Bimaru state. They have irrigated land and agriculture at 14%. So whether it is the farmers who normally cultivate wheat, rice and sugar that need to adopt different technologies, one drop per crop, better fertilizers, better
Shaina,
schemes. We have provided insurance schemes, pension schemes, Jan Dhan Yojana, solar pumps, better infrastructure. Yes, we cannot constantly be in this battle of announcing freebies, subsidies, SOPs, as the Congress party has done. We will give you this in 10 days.
Okay, you've still not given me a solution.
How are you going to empower the lives of the farmers?
You've still not given me a suggestion, so I have to move to IP Singh. Okay, IP Singh साहब, ये बात आपको माननी पड़ेगी कि जहां तक रूरल जो ग्रामीण है, ग्रामीण वोटर है, काफी भारी मत से उन्होंने भाजपा के खिलाफ वोट किया है. एक चीज बताइए जो आपको लगता है इसी वक्त सरकार को कर देनी चाहिए या भाजपा को कर देनी चाहिए इस मुद्दे को एड्रेस करने के लिए.
देखिए, भाजपा भले ही इन 3 राज्यों में 15 साल बाद हार गई हो, लेकिन देश के 130 करोड़ देशवासियों का भरोसा भारतीय जनता पार्टी और माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने बिल्कुल नहीं खोया है. देश की जनता भारतीय जनता पार्टी के साथ खड़ी है, माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी की नीतियों के साथ खड़ी है. जितनी मजबूत 15 साल बाद माननीय शिवराज सिंह जी मध्य प्रदेश में चुनाव लड़े, श्रीमती
वो एनालिसिस हो गया है. आगे का बताइए,
और
आगे का बताइए. एक मुझे सॉल्यूशन दीजिए, कैसे आप ग्रामीण वोटर को वापस लाएंगे.
बिल्कुल, ग्रामीण वोटर हमारे साथ था और निश्चित तौर से भारतीय जनता पार्टी, चाहे जनधन योजना रही हो, चाहे उज्ज्वला योजना हो, चाहे घर घर बिजली पहुंचाने का मामला हो, या उत्तर प्रदेश जैसे राज्यों में, उत्तर प्रदेश राज्य जैसे बड़े राज्य में 38,000 करोड़ रुपए किसानों का माफ कर देने का मामला हो, चाहे ग्रामीण क्षेत्र में प्रधानमंत्री आवास बनाने की बात हो या शौचालय बनाने की बात हो, या
सारे स्कीम तो आप जो
फसल है
में, उसके बावजूद आप हार गए. मैं आपसे ये पूछ रहा हूं कि कहीं ना कहीं आप मानते हैं कि कोई करेक्शन की जरूरत है या कोई करेक्शन नहीं करना है, जैसे वैसे का वैसे आप चलते जाएंगे.
आदरणीय श्रीनिवासन जी, जिस तरह से राजीव गांधी के मुंह पर तगड़ा तमाचा कल देश की सर्वोच्च अदालत ने मारा है,
राहुल गांधी
को लेकर
राहुल गांधी
लगातार वो चुनाव में झूठ बोलते रहे,
राहुल गांधी
झूठ बोलते रहे,
राजीव गांधी नहीं, राहुल गांधी.
हो सकता उनको लाभ मिला हो.
अच्छा चलिए, अभी भी आपने जवाब नहीं दिया.
उनका बाप सबसे बड़ा
Sandeep Mahapatra, let me at least try with you, because we are just rehearsing talking points now, which after an election result really have no value. The fact is that of all the ministers in the cabinet today, important portfolios, perhaps the one portfolio which I suspect most Indians don't even know about is the country's agriculture minister, at a time when India clearly is going through rural distress. Could one solution at least be, as a starting point, to replace the agriculture minister of this country?
See, that will not be a correct thing for me to comment on, because that is for the government to take a call on.
No, but as an analyst, as a commentator,
look, replacing a minister from another by another person may not be the right kind of a thing. The approach needs to be as to, if at all, there is farm distress,
yes,
and that is seems to be the case, as has been pointed out. We need to reach to the grassroots. The government, or for that matter, the party needs to reach to the grassroots.
But do you feel somewhere along the line, Sandeep, that when it comes to rural India, the BJP and the RSS has a blind spot?
No.
When it comes to agrarian distress, when it comes to MSP, those are not frontline issues really for the Hindutva Parivar.
No. Not at all. I will not agree with you on that. RSS, in fact, has been working, and it's the work area of RSS is spread all across, be it urban area, be it rural area.
Okay, one solution to try to fix this problem of the fact that the rural voter may have got alienated. What would you suggest?
Look, I'll see it from a different perspective, and please allow me 2 minutes time or 1 minute's time.
2 minutes is going to be difficult.
Yeah.
30 seconds is more
realistic. So far as
the
Chhattisgarh election is concerned and the results are concerned, yes, there the rural voters may have got swayed away because of the waiver, the farm waiver, the loan waiver that was announced by Rahul Gandhi.
Okay.
That is for sure has played a role, because the harvester, they didn't sell the paddy in the mandi, and they are still waiting. Number one is that.
How will the BJP counter this?
No,
what could be a counter?
the BJP will definitely devise a formula as to how to counter this, because at the end of the day, in the last 4.5 years, the government has rolled out various programs. Whether those programs have been translated into votes and how it will be translated into votes,
that is something to be seen. Aarti Jairat, 3 attempts made, no clear answer received. Is this almost an acknowledgement that it's perhaps too late now, that the government feels they've done whatever they can for rural India, and where do you go from here? Because this is a huge, significant chunk of India's voting population.
Absolutely. I mean, Vasu, I mean, I am so distressed at this ostrich-like behavior that you don't want to see what has gone wrong and you don't want to even attempt to correct it because you won't even acknowledge that something has gone wrong. You say that you've done everything right. So if you've done everything right, then why should you lose an election,
exactly.
right?
Why have you lost?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, I don't know really what the BJP can do at this late stage. I think that, the distress was very, very evident.
Yes.
And the fact that the government, and, and I think, one of the main causes of the distress, or something that has made the distress even worse, because actually this farm crisis has been building up over the years.
Yes.
It's not something that has been created by the Modi government. It's been building up over the years.
Yeah.
But what the Modi government failed to do was actually institute agricultural reforms to address the farm crisis.
Yeah.
And then they dealt a body blow to the agricultural
with
economy
demonetization.
with demonetization. And even today, the BJP is not ready to admit that demonetization may have been a mistake.
Okay, let's move to the next aspect of it, which is, of course, the fact that we've seen some very strong statements by Yogi Adityanath particularly when it comes to infusing the Hindutva aspect of the campaign, because every campaign has multiple layers and Yogi Adityanath was bringing in sort of hard Hindutva.
कांग्रेस के वरिष्ठ नेता श्री कमलनाथ जी का एक बयान में पढ़ रहा था। उन्होंने कहा कि हमें एससी एसटी का वोट नहीं चाहिए। उनका कहना है कि कांग्रेस को तो केवल मुसलमानों का वोट चाहिए। आपको ये अली मुबारक हो, हमारे लिए बजरंगबली पर्याप्त होंगे। अगर तेलंगाना में भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार बनती है तो मित्रों, मैं आपसे कह सकता हूं, ओबीसी को यहां से वैसे ही भागना पड़ेगा जैसे हैदराबाद से निजाम को भागने के लिए मजबूर होना पड़ा था। कांग्रेस के लोग तो भेदभाव करते थे और इस विभाजन और बंटवारे की राजनीति का ही दुष्परिणाम है। इस देश के अंदर आतंकवाद सिर चढ़ करके बोल रहा था। आज आप देख रहे होंगे, जिस आतंकवादियों को कांग्रेस बिरयानी खिलाती थी, आज हम उन्हें गोली खिला रहे हैं।
Do you think that this kind of rhetoric, this kind of ideological positioning was a mistake, and is there a need to fix this going forward?
I like the way you selectively choose to say only what you want to. You haven't even once commented on people using Chaukidar chor hai, when
Because
actually the
talking
chor
about
is
the
talking
BJP,
about a
Shaina.
Chaukidar being a chor. So I don't want to get into this kind of
Because
commentary.
we're talking about the BJP. I don't have a Congress representative on the panel, because the idea is not to make it Congress versus BJP, for the BJP just to reflect within and say, look, what are the things we need to fix?
Fair enough.
Do you believe that the Yogi, who did 74 rallies in this campaign and used this kind of language, once again, do you believe that that was a mistake and that that's not an experiment you think should be repeated?
I personally feel that we should not really comment on any issue which is required to be viewed in any tone as a vote bank or as a communal statement or disrespect to the Prime Minister. But this is my personal view. There are lots of people who use the forum to express their opinion if they have been attacked, like what Mr. Owaisi said, chai wala, chai wala, chai wala, chai wala. Obviously, Mr. Yogi Adityanath would respond and said कि निजाम को भी हैदराबाद से भागना पड़ा और आपको भी शायद ऐसे भागना पड़ेगा.
Why?
This commentary is all part and parcel of electioneering. I would only want to say the kind of targeting to Prime Minister Modi is a disrespect to the office of the Prime Minister.
Okay, सिंह साहब, क्या आप मानते हैं कि योगी जी कार्ड फ्लॉप हो गया? और एक, अगर जैसे हम सॉल्यूशंस की बात करें, तो एक ये सॉल्यूशन हो सकता है कि जिस तरह से योगी जी को घुमाया गया वो आगे न किया जाए और जो भाषा का उन्होंने प्रयोग किया उसको टोन डाउन किया जाए. क्या ये आप मानते हैं? की जरूरत, इसकी जरूरत है?
पूजनी योगी जी को
Thank you.
पूरे देश में उनको सुनने के लिए डिमांड रहती है। जहां जहां प्रत्याशियों ने जिन राज्यों में उनकी मांग थी, सर्वाधिक मांग थी, सर्वे के आधार पर भारतीय जनता पार्टी अपने जो कैंपेनर होते उन्हें भेजती है।
बट वहां
अगर
तो हार
देखा
गई
जाए
भाजपा,
तो
काफी
दूसरे तीसरे
भारी
नंबर
हद से
उनकी डिमांड
एनालिसिस
थी
किया है लोगों
और
ने।
बहुत अच्छा रिस्पांस। जिस कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी में वो पहुंचे,
हाँ।
भारतीय जनता पार्टी करीब करीब 70% सीटों पर विजयी घोषित हुई है। इसमें
नहीं
किसी
सिंह
प्रकार का
साहब।
कोई संशय नहीं है।
नहीं।
आगे भी स्टार
नहीं।
कैंपेनर के रूप में पूजनी योगी जी देश भर की रैलियां करेंगे। लोकसभा में वो रुकने वाले नहीं है।
In a sense, I'm getting an answer to that question, but let me still try to persist with Sandeep Mahapatra. That is polarizing language, is divisive language, strong language, hardline Hindutva rhetoric, the deployment of someone like Yogi Adityanath. Is that something the BJP should reconsider, you think?
Look, Srinivas, my point is that if somebody like Kamal Nath, who has been accused in 1984 of rioting and all that, of murder and all sorts of charges, is being anointed as the chief minister of a big state in India, and nobody is
There are
questioning
no formal charges against him.
No formal
Just
charges,
to
but yes, there
make
is a
that clear.
serious charge, and there
Yeah.
are people to say, and there are leaders, political leaders, who are saying that he was one of the parties to that. Now, coming to Yogi Adityanath, if Rahul Gandhi could flaunt his quote-unquote Hindu credentials to say that he is a Janaidaru Brahmin, he can quote what his gotra is, and he alludes to his Hindu
No, I am asking you a
ancestry.
simple strategic question. It's not whataboutery here, because
No,
this
no,
is
it is
not
not
Congress versus
whataboutery.
BJP. This
See.
is just, is this something which is paying dividends to the BJP, or is this hurting the BJP?
No, look, Yogi Adityanath, he is the chief minister of the one of the populous state in India, that is UP. All across India, there is a demand, and not only these elections,
So
even
you
in
think he should
Karnataka
continue-
elections also.
should he continue
in
to campaign?
Karnataka elections also, he was one of the main.
Should he continue to campaign
campaigner
for
for BJP?
Should he continue
Why not?
to
If he is
campaign?
getting votes and he is a good asset for the BJP, why not?
There's no
Because
evidence
see,
he's getting
the
votes.
point is
The
the
evidence is
hardliner
suggesting
stand.
that the BJP is actually
See, the
losing
hardliner
votes.
stand comes because somebody else is taking a stand which is anti-Hindu. And if that is the
Okay.
case, what is
All
wrong?
right.
If Mr. Yogi
RTJ.
Adityanath is saying that, look,
Okay.
being in a country like India, if you are talking about anti-Hindu thing,
Yeah.
on the face of it, which is not correct.
Okay, so that
What is the-
also
what is
you
the harm?
feel there is no need to course correct, there is no need to change, is hard Hindutva, because frankly, Aarti, there's no easy data to suggest causality. There's nothing to suggest that the BJP may have lost because of this kind of language or polarization. Some could argue that this kind of attempt has actually prevented a much more serious defeat. But overall, is your sense that they should reconsider this?
Well, I think definitely, Vasu, you know, one thing we've noticed over the past few years is how coarse the discourse has become. You know, the kind of language that is being used on both sides, actually. Not just from the BJP, but from the Congress as well.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's a real fall, it's a real decline of, you know, the kind of discourse. And I think that needs to be corrected. But also, I do feel that as far as voters are concerned, look, if you're hurting economically, the
Then this
last
kind
thing
of
you want to hear
Mandir,
is
masjid.
masjid, you know, this kind of coarse
Ali, Bajrang
abuse
Bali.
against, I mean, I think, you know, it shows, I think the voter ends up feeling that the government doesn't care, that there's a callousness, that they're not at all aware of their distress or their problems. And I think, you know, at the end of the day, everybody wants a caring government.
Okay, so we are completely out of time. Let me try for the last time with all my panelists to see if at least I can get them to give me one solution, Shaina, one change, because just to go on repeating that we've done all the hard work, we are an incredible government and all of that, doesn't help when you're trying to fix something. Clearly there is a problem. You have lost 3 states. What would you say is the one big change you'd like to see that party or government should address moving forward?
As far as policy is concerned, yes, of course, we endeavor to work, whether it is employment or whether it is agricultural output, and making sure that every community is inclusive, as we have done with MSP, or doing away with the middleman. The endeavor to ensure that every segment, whether it's the youth of this country or the farmers of this country, they are economically empowered, so they're not just relying on freebies, subsidies, SOPs,
Okay.
but also the implementation of our policies to the poorest of poor,
Okay.
which need to be manifold across the length and
Okay,
breadth
so
of
you're
the
saying
country.
do a better implementation of policies. Singh साहब, बहुत वक्त कम है. एक चीज जो आपको लगता है कि बदलाव लानी चाहिए सरकार को, भाजपा को, वो क्या होगा?
हिंदी हॉटलैंड में भारतीय जनता पार्टी को कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। 2019 में जो हमारी नीतियां हैं वो पूरी तरह लागू हो रही हैं।
सिंह साहब,
हम उसी
3
के
states
आधार
of
पर जनता में जाएंगे। लेकिन राफेल डील को लेकर जो झूठ बोला गया, 15 साल की एंटी इनकम्बेंसी थी, इस वजह से राज्य गए हैं। लेकिन लोकसभा को लेकर किसी प्रकार का
प्रॉब्लम
कोई
नहीं है।
संशय नहीं है।
संदीप महापात्रा,
किसान
10
प्रेमी
seconds.
सरकार है।
When a government runs for 3 terms of 15 years, there might be cases where the karyakartas, who are the real worker, may or may not be satisfied or may not be happy. So those issues need to be, looked into.
Address the grassroots
Yes,
worker,
address the
the
grassroots
Bhajpa
worker, and
Karyakarta.
yes,
There
take
may
the
be some
feedback,
anger,
take the
some dissatisfaction
yes.
there. Okay, at least that's one concrete solution. Aarti, from you, what would that be?
Yeah, no, I think, the government needs to listen to the voices from the ground. This rural distress has been flagged for the last 2 years. Farmers have been marching in Maharashtra, in Madhya Pradesh, to Delhi.
Okay.
And nobody seems to have paid any attention.
All right,
so,
nobody-
it's about time the government sat up and listened to what people were saying.
All right, so we'll have to wait and see if the BJP indeed does wake up, does listen, or becomes trapped in increasingly its own echo chamber, as often political parties do towards the end of their term. That's it on Truth versus Hype. Thank you all so much for joining us. That's all the time we have. Thank you. Good night.